Now, one of the easiest ways for you to start monetizing your social media is by giving additional resources that go into additional value alongside the content that you're already putting out. For example, you might put out a piece of content around a certain topic, and at the end, you would then have a call to action to comment a keyword in return for receiving this free resource. This will then allow you to create more inbound conversations, create more engagement on your posts, and also build up an audience away from your social media platform so you're not just reliant on one platform for all of your leads. For example, you could create this on a software such as ManyChat, or you could create it on our platform, systemized to scale, for a fraction of the cost. So inside our platform, you'll see that on the left-hand side, you essentially have automation. You'd click into automation, and inside there, you'd see that we've pre-built everything for you, so it's really easy to follow the next steps. From here, you would then simply click on the sales section. And inside this folder, we have literally pre-built every single automation that you would need to run the sales section of your business. Once you're inside this section, you'll then see that we have literally a long list of numerous different automations which are pre-built that we would guide you through to set up if you came on board our platform. But first of all, you would then go into STS Chat. We call it STS Chat. This is literally all of your automated social media messaging systems. And what you'll see once you've been into this is that we have lots of different systems. So you'll then see that one of the systems is to essentially give out lead magnets, and the other is sales call prompts. So a sales call prompt, you could put up a testimonial on social media, and then you could use the sales call prompt to have a call to action where people message you, and then off the back of this, it can trigger a sequence and eventually book that lead in for a call. We actually have an AI appointment setter, we call it the AI VA, that will literally take conversations in your DMs, have a back and forth conversation like a human being, and literally book leads in for a call. But in this case, we'll focus on the lead magnet chatbots. So you'll click into lead magnet chatbots, and what you'll see when you're inside this is that we have literally built out the chatbots for you across SMS and WhatsApp, across Facebook, and across Instagram. Now, Instagram is probably the main platform that you would probably monetize, so you can click into the Instagram one. And you'll see when you click into this, that this probably goes through a different sort of framework that you might have used with chatbots in the past, and I'll show you why. So inside here, you'll then see that we literally have a workflow built out, and the way that workflows work, regardless if you're using our platform, if you're using something like ManyChat, is at the top you always have to have what is called a trigger. Essentially, a trigger that starts the automation. You can have numerous different triggers. It doesn't just have to be one thing, but in this case, your triggers would be when people comment a certain word, or when people DM a certain word. This then means that when people take this action, it then triggers the automation and then follows all of the next steps that are underneath this. In this case, what you'll then see is, as our trigger, we then have it set up so when people essentially, in this example, comment guide 1 on Instagram, DM guide 1 or comment guide 1 on Instagram, it would then trigger the sequence. You would then obviously change the guide 1 to whatever your keyword is that you want to use. You'll then see underneath this that we have a series of steps. Step 1 is essentially to respond to the comment if they commented. What this will then do is we can have a sequence of different comments, so that then the system will randomly pick one when it likes their comment and replies to their comment, so it doesn't look robotic, it looks like you've gone through and manually replied. The next step is step 2 here, and that is essentially adding them to an opportunity board. It's all well and good getting leads into your business, but you need to track them. Otherwise, you essentially have what we call as a leaky bucket, where all of your leads will drop off and you won't be able to monetize them. Thirdly, we want to tag them, because then it means that it's easy to essentially retarget them, and it's easy to understand where your leads are coming from. If you're creating lead magnets, which essentially this is, you want to know which lead magnets are the most valuable, so you can then create variations of that and essentially go where the data is suggesting. Then essentially the fourth step is we want to essentially reply to their Instagram their comment with a DM, or we just want to start a DM conversation. And you'll see here on the right hand side, that's exactly what we do. We reply to them, and what we want to do is we then essentially want to slightly sell the lead magnet so that they see the value in it, and then we want to ask their email in return for this. A big mistake when sending out lead magnets is you'll just send them out without capturing any data in return. It's all well and good sending them out. You can use it as a conversation starter, but you need to capture some data in return if you truly want to monetize your audience. and also build a business that's profitable in the long term. Because you're then not reliant on one platform, you have a database that you can retarget, even if your social media platform goes down. But what it also means is you can take that database, you can retarget it with ads, and you can create lookalike audiences, so you're essentially omnipresent across the internet. You'll then see that the fifth step that we have down here is essentially to wait until they reply to that message. Or if they haven't replied within 1 hour, we then essentially have a follow-up sequence. So you'll then see that the automation then goes into even more detail here, and we then have essentially a branch. Now, the way that the branch works, if they haven't replied to our message within 1 hour, it branches off, and if they do reply, it then branches off the other way. Now, what we want to think about is, with your business, you have a customer journey, and there's always drop-off at certain points. We want to reduce the percentage of drop-off at every single point, and if we can do that, your business will essentially flourish, and you won't have all these leaky buckets. So for example, if a lead comments or DMs you a keyword, the initial Instagram message sends, they then don't reply within an hour, we will then want to hit them with a follow-up message, which is here. And that will then essentially send them a follow-up message to resurface the conversation. Facebook have, and Instagram, Meta essentially have what is called the 24-hour rule, where we can't then automate things past the lead messaging for 24 hours. So every time that lead messages, the 24-hour rule begins, but we can automate 2 messages within that window. So we can automate the first one when we DM them up here, and then this one as a follow-up. We update them on our lead pipeline, so that we're making sure that they're constantly updated and we're not missing out on them. We then wait until they reply, and when they do reply, the system then essentially connects back up here. This is where the branch started off, and we then essentially check to see if they have replied with their email. If they've replied with their email, we capture it, we put it into our contact section, and then we essentially here send out a message, which is then giving the actual resource. You'll then notice that in this section down here, you'll then see that if we open this up, that you're then literally giving the resource here in the wording. So thank you, let me know how you find the link below, then you'd actually paste in the resource. The thing with this is then it reduces friction, because you're not then having to send someone a link to a funnel, they go off and they opt in, you're literally giving them the resources in the DM, so it's way less friction. We then essentially update them on our pipeline, so then we know they've been given the resource, and then either the AI VA can come in, or your setter can come in and steer that into a conversation. A lot of people make the mistake of just giving out lead magnets with nothing in return. We want to capture some data so we have something to remarket with.